What's up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to cover how we've done, right, 6.5% in about 9 days, right? So let's just see. We deposited the money on November 5th, right? Took the first trade November 6th. And here we are, current date, November 16th, 2024. We are up 6.5%. So we're going to cover the strategy we've used to do this. And we're going to cover what stocks we're looking into this week to sell options on, right? So the strategy we're using is we're selling cash secured puts until we have to exercise, in which we will then sell covered calls, right? So it's basically a wheel strategy, right? So far, we haven't had to exercise since we started the challenge. And I'll explain to you guys how to get the most money possible off premiums while mitigating your risk of exercising. Obviously, we are eventually going to have to exercise. We're not going to be perfect on this challenge. And we want to exercise because if we do it right, then we're going to put ourselves in a position to, eat on some capital gains while being able to, collect premiums. So let's discuss it. We'll talk about first about the two trades we've taken, and then we will talk about what we're going to do this upcoming week. So basically, as you see, the first trade we took, don't mind all this, this is just noise. The first trade we took was Affirm, right? We sold it, cash secured puts, and we made $600 in like 2 days or 3 days. We sold it on the Tuesday or Wednesday. And obviously, the way when you sell options, it works is you collect the premium on Friday. So we'll go to 2 weeks ago. So we'll go to the daily, right? And we sold it on, I think we got in like around here is when we decided to sell it. What ended up happening is, so basically the strike that we sold was the 45, right? So if we look at it, the 44.50. And what we did was we were using the weekly time frame, right, to decide how far our premium should be. So when you look at the weekly time frame, right, this is where we use the tool, the ATR. The ATR says that on average it moves 6.6. I believe it was less because it's been more volatile over the last 2 weeks, but it was like $5, right? So when we got in, the strike was 47. When we got in, the price of Affirm was like 48 something, 48 or 47, and we took a 44.50. So it was like $3 or $4, right? And that's the thing, you're not going to get the full ATR range because it would just be too easy, right? Like if we could just take premiums that were completely, and when I say ATR again, I mean on the weekly, right? So you go to the weekly time frame and you look at what the number is right here. So you see how it's $6.60. What that means is on average, Affirm moves up or down $6.60. So if your premium was completely out of the ATR range, then you're in a position where you're almost never going to exercise, but at the same time, can collect good premiums. So the reason why we're never going to just be able to, do premiums that are completely out of the ATR range, right? Let's just pull up the options chart so you guys can see, right? So first of all, we were able to make, a lot more a couple weeks ago because it had earnings, right? So the premiums were jacked up. But ultimately, right, if we go $6.60 away, 60 cents away, these are basically, these premiums are, they're not going to pay, right? So obviously our account has 21,000. So let's go 400, right? And we would make $88, right? So we obviously have to go a little closer because look, if we come, $3 away, right? Then we're making 343 instead of 88. Obviously 343 a week comes out to, 1,200 a month compared to 88 a week, which is, still decent. But the point really is that as much as we would love to be fully out of the ATR, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be almost impossible just due to the fact that the premiums are not going to be there. So we have to go, I'd say 50% or more. Like I said, we can go less, right? And we can get great premium here, right? If we go 4 here, $663, which actually I wouldn't even be able to afford it right now in my account. I'm only at 21,312. You could see the risk would be 336. We would have to go right here to go 4 and 487. But, even though the delta is a 32 and our chance of profit is 72, right? So that's basically your chance of profit is the opposite of the delta in that regard, right? Because the way the delta works is it's telling you what the percent that you are going to have to exercise is. So since there's only a 32% chance, it's a 72% chance that you just collect profit and don't have to buy something below here in which you would take a capital loss. So that's basically how we do it in terms of selecting our strike. Is we go roughly half the ATR or more. Obviously it depends on your risk threshold, right? Depends how bad you want the stock. If it's a stock that you really want, you could literally just open covered calls right now, right? So like obviously in this case, Affirm sitting at 56.48. So if we're doing cash secured puts on the 53, right, and we're going 4, and we're collecting 343, we also don't have to buy. I'll move this since we're not doing this anymore until it's down here, right? And this is what I love about selling options is like, if we go on a lower time frame, if you're like a normal trader, right, most of the time your stop loss is going to be here, right, or somewhere around here, right? Like anyone who trades normally knows, like, you draw it out and, you put your stop loss, you put your entry, something like this, right? The reason why I love selling options is like instead of this being your stop loss, it's like this is where you would have to enter. Like this is almost where the action would become. So it's like a reverse engineer of a game that you're almost always going to lose instead of it being a game where you're almost always going to win. And that's the difference, right? When you play this game, you're almost always going to win. So that was the basis of the first play that we took. The second play that we took, let's go back to history, was Shopify, right? And we took Shopify last week. We took we did take a little sell on Robinhood as well. I'm not going to cover that since we only made $25. The only reason why I took it is because I've been wanting to get some Robinhood shares anyway, and I would love to sell covered calls. So I was like, you know what? I have a couple bucks left because 2 contracts on this was 14,000. So I had a couple bucks left, or sorry, it was 85 times 2, so it was like 17,000. So I had a couple bucks left. I was like, you know what? I'll sell a put on Robinhood. Didn't exercise it either. So in total, we collected 725. But I'm only going to cover this play. And basically, it was the same strategy, right? So Shopify, we took it on last Monday, right? Shopify was down here. It was at like 88. We took the 85, which was here. And, it came below for like a second and then ultimately blasted way above it. Let's go to the daily, right? So, you know what? Let's go to the weekly actually, sorry. So again, in this case, it was 767 was the ATR. I do believe these ATRs are up from what they were last week just because we're taking these plays pre-earnings. But let's just go look at the Shopify premiums. And you'll notice, right, the amount that I collected, it's just relative to that now, the premiums are so much lower because the earnings reports have happened. I kind of explained that earlier in one of my other videos. But again, so $7 is the ATR. If we go the full 7, again, the premiums are just not going to be worth it. But if we go 3 or 4, now you're in a position where, truthfully, it's still not worth it. Like, I don't think I'm going to be selling puts on Shopify for a while now, just because of the fact that the earnings reports have happened. So now the premiums are trading at a low price. So I don't see myself trading Shopify for a while. But again, same strategy. Shopify was at, I believe it was at $90 when I entered. I took the $85 puts, which was, it was a $5 difference. Obviously, in this case, the ATR is $7, $8. So again, you're not getting the full ATR range, but it's good to acknowledge that, to go basically half away. And then, of course, if Shopify would have dumped, right, listen, I'm not going to ignore the fact that it was lucky that Shopify blasted up. It could have done the exact opposite, right? So in that case, if it would have went from 90 all the way to here, we would have been stuck holding the bag, right? We would have bought at 85. We would have had to hold 200 shares all the way down here. And then in which that case, now we have the 100 shares. What we do instead of selling puts is we sell calls, right? And we would have rode it from, 75 all the way back up. Now, someone in the comment section talked about how they dealt with the scenario of it dumping, right? They sold covered calls and then they end up getting out lower, right? So they got in at 85, the stock dumped to 75. They sold covered calls until, let's just say, it got back to 80, in which they exercised and took the $5 loss. Now that's the risk of option selling, right? We can go on ChatGPT. Here, let's go on ChatGPT, and don't mind the other stuff with businesses. But actually, I'm going to block out everything. You guys don't need to see my history of ChatGPT. But if we say, what's the risk of option selling? How can you lose? All right, we'll come back to this when it's done loading. But the point is, right, is the real risk of option selling is the fact that you can get stuck buying at 85, it can dump to 75, and then when you try to sell covered calls, right, you're going to have to still keep your strike close to make it worth it. You could then end up exercising at a price lower than what you bought. In that case, you would want to roll the play, which you would most likely have to sacrifice the premium, even take a small loss potentially, just so you can hold on to the shares and ride them back up. Rolling is something that's going to save you losing positions, but it's going to be worth it in the end because you don't want to have to take capital gain losses. So that's basically it in terms of the play, right? We took these stocks that were pre-earnings because the premiums were jacked up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go look at Nvidia, right? Because Nvidia is one of the plays we're eyeing this week. And we plan on getting some options. We plan on selling some puts on Nvidia. It has earnings. And look at this, right? So the price isn't that much more expensive than Shopify, right? Shopify's at 110, Nvidia's at 140. But look how much better these premiums are paying, right? We can go back to Shopify real quick again. And say if we click sell puts, same expiration, same date. Look at this. So in this case, $105, right? Or better yet, $10,500 is going to pay you $70, right? And then if we go to Nvidia, right, 1,300 or 30, yep, you know. So let's just pull up the chart, right, and let's look at the ATR again. So the weekly ATR, $11, right? Nvidia's at 142. So again, even if we go the full 11, it's still paying better than the Shopify that's right next to it. So if you want to be really safe on Nvidia, you know, you could really do the 130 and you're still collecting 243. What I'm most likely going to do is I'm probably going to do what I've been doing, which is like a half. So I'm probably going to go like 136, collect 400. That's going to leave us with 1,300, and that extra, you know, 7,000-8,000 I have in the account, I'm probably going to use towards opening a position on some crypto mining stocks because right now the premiums are just so good on them. So like, you know, let's do the same thing. We'll pull up the Mara chart. So the weekly is $3.60. So we're going to go roughly half of that. Let's go maybe $19.50. And we're going to go 6. So we have 8,000 left, assuming we take the Nvidia play. And boom, we'll be collecting another 260. So we'll be in position to collect roughly $600, $700 between both plays next week. That's what I'm eyeing. I'm not saying it's what I'm going to do. Now ChatGPT should be done loading, right? So let's see. You know, I don't love this answer. I wanted to say, how do you lose? How can you lose money selling? All right, let's just wait for this. Just gonna let this type it all out, and then we'll discuss it. All right. So how can you lose scenario? The stock price rises significantly above the strike price. Now this isn't a loss, right? This would just be like, oh, you would have made more money holding the stock, but that's not losing money, right? Losing scenario here, the stock price falls significantly below the strike price. In this case, yes, you would be down money, but if it's a stock you truly believe in, you'll hold and ride covered calls back up. And then again, of course, if you have to roll, then you will. And we'll discuss rolling when I have to roll it for this challenge. Early assignment risk, you're assigned before expiration. The market moves further against your position. I don't even know. You sell a call and the stock price rises sharply. The buyer exercises the option. This isn't really something that's going to happen, right? This is something that would happen if you actually sold options to someone. But we're selling options to a liquidity pool, right? It's not actually someone else on the other side of the market like that. Volatility risk. Sudden market increases the options value, leading to a higher cost to close the position. Again, I don't see that happening. Margin call, not going to happen because we're not using margin. And limited reward, unlimited risk. Again, this isn't really the case because we're not selling options on penny stocks, right? Like even something like Mara, which is relatively low compared to Nvidia. It's like, let's see, Mara market cap, still $7 billion, right? It's not going to lose $7 billion within a week. And part of that is why we're taking 1 week expirations. I just believe it's better to take 1 week because if we go 13 days, you know, it's not exactly paying double, right? 19.50 to 92 cents or 19.50 to 67 cents. To me, I'd rather go 1 week because I'm not getting paid double to hold it for twice as long, right? If it was an exact correlation, then maybe I would. But I'd rather go 6 days. It allows you to be a little riskier with the play because you don't want to get stuck in a play that's, 30 days out. I'd rather just be in a play 6 days, get in, get out, and find the next play the week after. So that's how we've done 6.5% in 2 weeks, on pace to do, or sorry, 9 days. So we're on pace to do 15% in a 30-day span, which is incredible, right? It beats most market managers. That's how we've done it. That's the plays we're looking at going into this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're going to sell options, make sure to trade safely. If you do take these plays with me this week, I'm wishing you the best, and hopefully we make some money together.